Hey there my human stars, welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to show you this super easy tutorial on how to make reusable face mask, especially with the climate that we're living in right now. Materials are scarce, so if you can make your own face mask at home to donate to your community, to your local hospital, to your loved ones at home, this is an easy tutorial that I can't wait to show you right now. Step one out of 7, and then it's this step 1. I'm showing you how I cut my fabric. You can take a piece of paper and draw a rectangle that's 6 by 9. Make sure to write down that you're going to cut it on the fold. And now I'm showing you that I am going to add my pins to let me know where the opening will be. This opening will be important because that's what's gonna let us turn it inside out. And now I drew my seam allowance that's 1/4. The same thing I'm going to do on the sides where I'm drawing 1/4 seam allowance, but I stitched the top first, and next I'm going to stitch the sides. But before I do that, I'm going to add, as you can see now, my elastic. The elastic is 1/4 size. This size, if you do not have it, you can cut any elastic that you have at home to this size. And if you're wondering if you can use any other elastic, yes you can, but you want to make sure that you sew it in correctly. Like, you don't want it to be too thin because it might be difficult to sew. And what I do is that I am entering the elastic from the inside and leaving just a bit of the edge out. Also, this elastic is cut to 6.5. That is the length of the elastic. So once you have it together, pinned from top to bottom, the next thing I'm going to do is sew. Because my fabric is stretchy, I have to pull it in the sewing machine so it doesn't crumble in. Now that it's sewn in, this is like the most exciting part because you get to see it coming together, and we're also almost halfway there. That's how fast this tutorial is. You can actually make this mask in 30 minutes. It takes me 30 minutes to do one. It might take you longer the first time around because you're following the tutorial, but just make sure to pause it as you go along, and take your time making your first one, because after you make your first one, you're gonna make them really fast. So once you turn it inside out, press it with your iron, and it's gonna let you sew it better, because now we're going to top stitch. You see this opening here? You can see how the seam allowance is 1/4. So you sew on top, both on the top and bottom, and on the sides. Once you have that done, this is the most important part. This is the pleat. This is the technique that's going to create the mask to open up the way you see me when I wear it. And this technique, you want to write in your pattern paper a distance of 0.5 per pin, and then in total you're going to have 9 pins with you. I recommend that if you have different color pins, to use them so it can make it easier for you to follow along this tutorial. Please make sure to pause as you go along. And if you're wondering how far apart from your seam allowance and the pleats are, in the descriptions, if you go there, I explain it more in detail, so you can just write it down and see the explanation. Pretty much I decided to do it 1 inch below my seam allowance, and then from there I just went down 0.5, and now I'm just pinning based on where my grid is so I can follow this along. And now this is the part where might feel confusing. This might be the hardest part, so please pause it and go slowly. I'm going to tell you now how exactly to lift each pin so you can correctly prepare your plate. How exactly to lift each pin so you can correctly prepare your plate. So you lift the third and bring it to the 1. I'm calling the 1 the first one on top, and then the pin in the middle, the white one, you use it to hold together your first plate. That's it. You take out those 2. That's your first plate, and you do the same thing. 1 on top of 3. You bring it on top. Then you take the pin in the middle, which is the one with the white, and then you use it to hold your pleat in. This keeps the pin together, the pleats together, and it doesn't take it apart. And now for a third time, we repeat the same process of taking the one in the bottom on top of the third one. So I think about it in terms of three, so 3, 2, 1. So I put 1 on top of 3, and number 2 goes in the middle to hold the pleat, and your outcome should look like this. This is how you want your pleat to look, so it's nice and tight, tucked in there. And now what you want to do is repeat the same process on the other side, so you can have the pleats together and looking like this. But before you sew, please iron it, because if it's nicely pressed, it just makes it easier to pass through your sewing machine. And by the way, my sewing machine is at a 3-stitch length. And there, done. After you sew it, you pretty much have your mask ready to go, and you can wear it. As you can see, the pleats is what allows you to have this effect and have it look like an actual face mask, you know, like the ones from the store. But it is like an actual face mask, but it's kind of like, feels kind of cool that you made it at home and that you recreated something that you normally see in the store by yourself, and now you can share. Okay, if you have any comments, questions, just write it in the comments below or DM me in my Instagram. It's right here in the link. Make sure to subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and share the video to anyone that you can, anyone that's interested in making masks. Wait, my favorite stars. I just want to point out, ooh, it's shaking. Please go to my description, because there I have linked up drop-off locations. There's also a list of all the materials that you can search in your home that you might have, that you previously in the past bought in bulk, that you can bring to these drives, and so they can bring them to the hospitals that urgently need it right now. Sending them out there for your community and your loved ones. That being said, now